I am Dr. Yakin Abdullah Habeeb, the author of the book It's Time for the Black Man's Revolution: How to Save Nigeria Now for Future Nigerians. In the first episode, I presented a brief of the preface and chapter 1 of this book. I now give a brief of chapter 2, titled Selfish Barons Are Ruling and Making Decisions. We are now set to look at the indices of an ailing society and a fragile state, starting with political indices. Selfishness is a part of the nature of every man. So, to prevent the individual interest from usurping the public interest and undermining the harmonious coexistence, an institution called government was born, which also protects the society from the selfishness of other societies. Government exists in order to protect the society from the constituent selfishness of the individual members. This institution is also to be overseen by individuals who strive for influence in the public space. There are those who seek to determine how a society is run, and this is the origin and essence of politics. Politicians are expected to see public office as responsibility to serve as much as they can. Unfortunately, here in Nigeria, and indeed most of African countries, it is seen as an opportunity and as the fastest track to make money. We have seen how the multitude that have ever held public office use it to enrich themselves to the colossal detriment of the nation. Our politicians and public office holders plunder our country for the benefit of other countries. They divert the money meant for the building of hospitals, roads, and schools to buy personal estates in other countries and leave their own countrymen to die of curable diseases, road accidents, and ignorance. Whenever we talk of the corrupt tendency of the black man, some people do argue that the white is also corrupt. There's no denying that fact. But the difference is that the whites normally plunder other countries to the advantage of their own country. For the white man, it is the nation first, but for the black man, it is himself first. When selfish barons are in power, the nation becomes a treasure to be devoured and plundered. And unfortunately, this is the case in Nigeria and in fact, most African countries. When we took over governance from the colonialists, who were plundering our resources for their country, one will expect that our spirit of patriotism and nation building would be doubled in order to make for the time and opportunities and resources we had lost to the Brits. But we ended plundering our own nation more than they ever did. The colonial masters, while plundering us, built roads, rails, and bridges to enable them carry valuables to and through the ports. But for us, we stole the money and hid them in European countries. If Walter Rodney were alive today, he would have to write another book to be titled How Africa Underdeveloped Africa, as a worthy sequel to How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. There's no doubt that people without a conscience or a national consciousness rule us, and it is thus easy to predict what becomes of our country if things should continue this way. Nigeria has suffered more than enough disservice, plundering and pillaging, first from the Brits and now from her own citizens. We are only lucky to have survived this far. Yes, luck is the word to use, because the secret of our survival against all statistical odds has defied all logical explanation. There's hardly any other country that could survive what our country has survived. As succinctly captured by former UK Prime Minister David Cameron, who was reported to have said, if the amount of money stolen from Nigeria in the last 30 years was stolen from the UK will cease to exist. Political selfishness and greed amongst our ruling elites has become intrinsically woven into the fabric of our society, that a mere one man or handful of patriotic men in power can't change anything. If selfishness and greed continue to dominate our political space, then we can confidently conclude that Nigeria will soon exceed its elastic limit, where it will crash and cease to be a sovereign country. God forbid. If we must remain a sovereign state, we must all stand up to make the required change. In the next episode, I will present a brief of chapter 3 of the book, which is a continuation of the political indices of how Nigeria is falling into a fragile state. You can obtain a copy of the book from any bookshop around you, or download the link below to obtain a copy from Amazon or Smashwords. Thank you for listening.